So earlier I talked about how the Dallas Mavericks need to tank because of their salary situation. They don't have a lot of young guys to really embrace. Miami is in a similar situation, but the difference between the Heat and the Dallas Mavericks is at least Miami has a couple of young guys to be excited about, specifically Justice Winslow, who, okay, his shooting is still not there yet. His field goal percentages have not been good at all this season. The outside shot is not there yet, but the defense is still awesome. But what intrigues me the most about Winslow is his ball handling ability. Because there are times this season when he's had the ball in his hand and he's dribbling up floor and he's beating defenders to the rim, and he's even been in pick and rolls sometimes. And we're seeing it with his 4 assists per game at the moment to go along with his 5 rebounds. So I think Winslow is making the second year jump that we expect. The shooting is not there yet, but it seems like everything else is progressing. Hopefully he can just be a bit more efficient and continue to attack the basket. But I really like Winslow, and I think his star power makes it to where if you're the Heat, you don't necessarily have to go for a full-on tank job, but at the same time, I think it is an option for you. Miami is currently 4-10, and I thought they were not going to make the playoffs this season anyway, so there is a chance that they could just bottom out the rest of the season, have Goran Dragic go get treatment for some injury that doesn't exist, and then just have Whiteside go crazy. Which, it should be said, Whiteside has kind of mirrored Andre Drummond of last season. You know how Drummond mastered the art of running, jumping, dunking, setting screens, and grabbing offensive rebounds and all that? Pretty much Whiteside has done the same thing. What's intriguing, though, is that Whiteside has actually shown some post abilities. There was a game against, I believe it was the Spurs or the Magic. I have no frickin' clue. There was a highlight I watched where he actually had a couple of post-ups. He had a turnaround jumper. He hit a mid-range jumper. I was like, oh, that's intriguing. To go along with, of course, his ability to catch and finish inside, as well as grab a crap ton of offensive rebounds. He's getting 5 offensive rebounds a game right now, which oftentimes leads to him either putting it back up and in or drawing a foul. He's attempting 5 free throws a game at the moment, so Whiteside's awesome. Do I think he still needs to improve on his overall defense? Yeah, his rim protection, while it's good, you ask him to step outside of the paint, it's not the best. Regardless, Whiteside, he's a positive for this team, and he's the guy. He's the star player. He is the one who's going to lead them to whatever the hell they end up being over the next few seasons, unless Winslow just really blows up. But still, do you sit Goran Dragic and just have the team suck for the rest of the year? Maybe you just play Dragic and you still suck anyway because you get no offense out of pretty much anywhere but your point guard and your center. Dion Waiters has been inefficient. Tyler Johnson's been inefficient. I already mentioned Justice Winslow. Josh Richardson could bounce back. He was a really good shooter for them last year. Of course, he has a larger role this season. It hasn't been too good so far, but he is coming off of an injury, so perhaps he could be an efficient scorer and a shooter for you over the season. But is that necessarily a good thing? If you're Miami, do you not contemplate, just trying to tank out the rest of this season, again, have Dragic get treatment for some injury that doesn't exist, and then go for the top pick? Because the interesting thing with Miami is their draft pick situation. They have their pick this season. So no matter where they finish, they get their pick. But next year, they only get their pick if they finish bottom 7 in the lottery. Which means there is a chance that if they try as hard as they possibly can this season to win, and they scratch out 30 victories or something and end up with the 13th pick, chances are you're not going to get a really good player with that pick. You still could, of course, but the chances are lower. And then you go into next season and you didn't really get that much better because your draft pick wasn't that great. So maybe you scratch to the 8th seed and then you don't get your pick because you didn't finish in the bottom 7. That would kind of suck. And even though I am excited about Winslow and Richardson, and hell, I don't know if Whiteside's even hit his ceiling even though he's 27 years old at this point, your better option might be to just be bad this season, get a high pick, and then have yet another young guy to be excited about with what you already have. The interesting thing is, I don't know where they really go in the draft. The glaring weakness this team has is the power forward position, of course. The only power forward who's going to be available in the upcoming draft seems to be Harry Giles, who, I don't know if his game and Whiteside's game play off of each other super well, at least offensively. Defensively, they could be a terror, as it would be impossible to score at the rim. But because neither one of them can really step out outside of the paint and be an offensive threat, at least as of right now, that could be weird. But then again, you could be so athletic and so good defensively up front with those two, you might just say screw it and do it anyway. But the other interesting thing is there's also a lot of point guards available in the upcoming draft. There is Josh Jackson. I mean, maybe you want to get another wing player who can handle the ball like Justice Winslow. I mean, Jackson is apparently not much of an outside shooter as of right now. I mean, if Winslow's outside shot doesn't progress, I don't know if you want both of your wing players being unable to shoot. But if you did go that route, I mean, that could make sense too. But there's also a lot of point guards. Markelle Fultz, Dennis Smith, De'Aaron Fox, Lonzo Ball, there's a lot of these guys, and there's a chance that you draft one of these guys, and then you could actually trade Goran Dragic. Could be an idea. I mean, if one of these guys end up being better than him, more athletic, younger, someone who can be on the same career trajectory as Justice Winslow, that might be the way to go. I mean, I think Dragic, his trade value is at this point pretty good point guard. He's not necessarily a takeover player, but he's definitely one of the better point guards in the NBA today. Now his contract makes it a little tricky as as his years go on and as he gets older, and he's already past 30 years old, he gets closer to like $20 million a season. He never hits it, but he's always really close. Might be tricky to trade him, but who knows, maybe you can find a deal. But still, given that Miami is in a situation right now where they're just not that good, it might be better for you to just tank this season, let yourselves suck, have Hassan Whiteside just go crazy in terms of production, and then just draft yourself a really big-time player who you can then embrace with this young team, and you can have... I mean, let's say they draft Josh Jackson. He can play the shooting guard position. He's got good size. He can handle the ball and all that. You're looking at Dragic, Jackson, Winslow. Power forward spot is still a question. Whiteside, there's something there. Now, if we're looking at free agency for Miami, of course, there's the Chris Bosh situation. Who the hell knows how that's going to end up? They do have some cap room as of right now, and depending on how that Bosh thing turns out and how quickly it turns out, you might have an opportunity in free agency, but given that you're one, not a very good team, two, Tyler Johnson's salary is going to jump up past $14 million after next season. You don't have a lot of wiggle room there with free agency. If Chris Bosh's situation doesn't get resolved quickly and it doesn't result in money coming off the cap for them, free agency might not be a realistic option for Miami. But still, I think this is an exciting young roster with Winslow, who I think can keep growing. Hopefully the outside shot comes around and his overall efficiency is there, but his ball handling, his physicality, his defense is all really good this early in his career. With Josh Richardson, I mean, as he gets farther away from the injury, I'm sure the shooting and the scoring will be there for him. Tyler Johnson seems intriguing. Maybe he becomes a shooting guard. I mean, he's a little light and a little short for it, but hell, maybe he's more of a ball handler than Richardson is, I believe. You got Whiteside as the main dude right now. It's good, and then you can add another big-time player this offseason. I mean, I think that's the way to go because you don't want to get stuck in the, just relying on Winslow to hopefully get better. I mean, I think Winslow can be really good, but I think you have an opportunity now to pair him up with another really exciting young player, and then you can just really embrace a young movement. Now, that does mean Goran Dragic might be out of the picture, but if you have to do it, then you do it. So Miami, I think it's going to be a bit of a waiting game, but I think given the organization and given that they do have some exciting young talent, I think they'll be okay.